When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
This is The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic. When you're running in the middle of a frigid winter, most of us can't wait for the weather to warm up. No more layers, frozen eyelashes, and dark mornings. But when you're a runner, summer can be a bit of a bummer. Every run feels harder, and your speed seems to evaporate instantly. Unlike the massive amount of sweat dripping into your eyes and staining your clothes. The good news is that all your sweaty work this summer will pay off with faster times in the fall. Your body will learn how to cool off quicker and more efficiently bring blood and nutrients to your muscles, which will make faster running easier when the weather cools off. So how do you get through those hot runs and races to get those incredible advantages we are hoping for? Let's find out. Welcome to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and my mission is to help you improve your running, your mindset, and your life with science-backed training and plant-based nutrition. In this episode, you'll learn the science of what is happening when you run in the heat, how you can effectively manage hot runs and keep up your training, and exactly what you do to prepare for a hot race day. This episode will give you everything you need to survive and even improve this summer. And don't forget to stay tuned all the way to the end of the episode for another Mental Strength Minute. Fortify your mind in 60 seconds or less. But before we begin, have you taken a moment to write a quick Apple podcast review? I get so many messages every week about how helpful this podcast has been to runners all over the world. But what actually makes it possible for me to do this work is positive reviews and subscribers. I hate that I even have to ask this, but the algorithm must be fed, and I'd love for you to share what you think. It's simple, free, and makes all the difference. So subscribe, follow, and write a review today. I sincerely thank you. Now let's get into the science of running in the heat. Heat and humidity impact performance, both in the short term and in the long term. As you begin to run in warm weather, the ambient temperature starts to heat you up, in addition to the heat that you are creating from running. Add in direct sunshine, radiating heat on your skin, and you've got a trifecta of heat generation. Soon your overall body temperature will start to rise. Just like when you run a fever, the higher your core body temperature, the worse you are going to feel. In an attempt to cool you down, your heated blood is diverted to the skin, and then you start to sweat. The sweat itself does not really cool you down. It's only when it evaporates that you start to feel cool. If it's so humid that the evaporation process can't happen, no amount of sweating will be much help in cooling you down. While the blood is being rerouted to your skin, less blood is available to transport oxygen to the working muscles. Less oxygen means you can't run as fast or as hard. If you're trying to speed up like in a race, it will take a considerable amount of effort. And of course, with all that sweat leaving the body, you run the risk of dehydration, which compounds your issues because it affects your ability to cool yourself down. So your core temperature simply gets hotter and hotter, further slowing you down and potentially even putting you in danger of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. But it's not just the run that's impacted by the heat. A single run in hot and humid conditions can impair recovery, leading to diminished performance on your next few runs. Let's look at why this is. After a hot run, your body will prioritize cooling itself and restoring hydration levels rather than delivering nutrients to your muscles. When the muscles can't get the nutrients they need to repair the damage caused by the workout, recovery is slower, and you may not be fully prepared for your next hard workout like you normally would be. Okay, so now we know why running in the heat is tough. So what do we do about it? The first strategy is to do your best to avoid it. That could mean treadmill runs in the air conditioning. It could mean timing your runs to avoid the brutal heat of the day. Choosing a shady route or getting into the woods for a trail run can help as well because you're removing one source of heat, the radiant heat caused by the sun on your skin. But avoiding all hot runs is just not practical or even desirable for most runners. Adapting to the heat is not only possible, but it can create positive changes in your body that will help make you faster in the fall. The most important thing you can do when running in the heat is slow down your paces. It's a scientific fact that even the most heat acclimatized runner will suffer performance loss in hot conditions. In order to stay true to the goals of each of your runs, you will have to slow down. These training paces that your coach wrote for you assume that you are running in perfectly cool temperatures on a flat surface with zero wind, and the stars perfectly aligned to your zodiac sign. And if that's not what the day gave you, it's time to adjust. Easy runs should be easy, even in the heat. Hard workouts should be challenging but doable, not all-out efforts that come close to killing you. This could mean that you'll need to slow down your paces 20, 30 seconds per mile or more to get the same effect. Speaking of workouts, you do not want to jump into a fast-paced workout the very first hot day you get. It's better to begin the process of heat acclimatization over a couple of weeks with a few hot, easy runs. If that goes well, then you can add in some hot workouts. Your next line of defense is proper hydration. But what does that even mean? I wish I could just tell you an exact amount to drink on a hot day. But each runner's sweat rate is dramatically different. So how do you find out your unique sweat rate? Here's a simple test. Weigh yourself naked before and after a hot run, and then subtract the amount of fluid you took in. This will give you a rough idea of how much fluid you lose on a run in similar conditions. Now, you don't have to replace all of what you sweat out during the run itself. That would lead to a lot of sloshing tummies. What you don't want to lose is more than about 2.5% of your body weight during a run. For a runner who's 150 pounds, that's about 3.75 pounds or 60 ounces of fluid. But that does not mean that you should not hydrate at all if you lose less than that, however. Training your body to drink on the run will not only help you feel better and perform better, but it's something you need to practice before race day. My favorite way to think about it is to give yourself every chance to run your best, especially on harder runs. The more successful your most challenging runs are, the more effective your training. So that means fuel well, sleep well, hydrate well, so you can run your best. There are lots of ways to purposely make running harder by fasting, underhydrating, and overstressing. But if you do that all the time, you're training your body to survive, not thrive. Back to hydration. A great way to minimize hydration losses is to be sure that you're pre-hydrating yourself the day before you run and adding in a little extra sodium to your diet to increase water retention. Now, that sounds strange to recommend sodium and water retention, and it is not right for all runners, but for many healthy runners, it can make a big difference. If you're on a low sodium diet for medical reasons, be sure to check with your doctor before increasing your sodium intake. A lot of plant-based runners are going to naturally be on a low sodium diet, so you might need a little bit more than you think. Training in the heat is one thing, but what about racing in the heat? How can you maximize performance on a hot day? I'll go over that when we come back. But first, I want to tell you about a unique opportunity to get stronger, faster, and stay motivated to hit your running and nutrition goals this year. And that is to join the PR team. I started it in 2022, and I have to tell you, it is even better than I imagined. Each member of the team gets a custom training plan made by me for you based on your unique fitness goals and lifestyle. Everything you need to achieve your running dreams is included, such as strength training, recovery, and even cross-training if you want it. I include weekly mental strength training as well as training tips and nutrition guides. But here's where it gets really cool. The group has its own page in the app where we share workouts, ask training questions, and get feedback from me and the other teammates. And each week, I create an exclusive private podcast just for the team based on the questions I get and what I see in their training each week. And I usually end up sharing behind the scenes and exclusive sneak peeks with the team that I don't share anywhere else. So instead of joining a Facebook group or sitting through another Zoom call, you get to listen to tailored advice on the run, and you don't have to do all of this alone. So if you're ready to take your running to the next level and join me and an amazing team of runners, head to theplantedrunner.com/group today. It's more affordable than you think, and I can't wait to have you. The Planted Runner is sponsored by Liquid IV. As the weather starts to warm up, you know that dehydration is a much bigger factor in your running, and water alone is not always going to be enough on those sweaty runs, which is where Liquid IV comes in. Liquid IV's formula, powered by Live Hydroscience, is clinically shown to maintain hydration better than water for up to 4 hours. All you need to do is add a packet to your water bottle before your run, and you're ready to go with their true-to-fruit flavors, because when it tastes this good, there is no excuse for not staying hydrated. Find all your favorite hydration multiplier flavors on their website, from lemon lime to pina colada. Break the mold and own your ritual. Just one stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code PLANTED at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code PLANTED at liquidiv.com. Welcome back to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic. There's nothing quite like training for weeks and months for a big race, only to open your weather app the week before the race and learn it's going to be hot and humid. So what can you do to maximize race performance on a hot day? Well, the first step would be try to avoid it in the first place. When choosing races, aim to find those that have a low chance of hot weather if this is a big, important race. Or if the heat can't be avoided, consider switching to shorter events like the 5K instead of the marathon during the summer. But of course, sometimes we just get bad luck and the weather is just not going to cooperate. What now? Well, if you're lucky, you've had a chance to have at least 2 weeks of hot weather running before race day, so your body becomes more efficient at running in the heat. Now, being more efficient doesn't mean you will magically be just as good in the heat as you are in a cool day, but it will take longer for the heat to catch up with you and slow you down. If you don't have the chance to acclimate before the big day, here are a few techniques that you can try that might help. And the reason I say might is because there really are no guarantees when it comes to the heat. One common trick is to wear extra layers of clothes on your runs in cool conditions before the race if you are expecting a hot race day. This will certainly stimulate some adaptations, but I can promise you it's not going to be super enjoyable. Some athletes use saunas and hot tubs in the 2 weeks before a hot race. Elite athletes have even been known to run on a treadmill inside a hot sauna to recreate hot race conditions. Personally, I would take sitting in a hot tub over a sauna session on the treadmill, but I hope I don't have to warn you that this could be a very rough session if you try it. Like all things running, these techniques vary in degrees of success from one runner to the next. Anecdotally, some runners find these tough sessions actually impair race day performance, so be very careful going overboard with a new technique in the critical weeks before your race. On race day, there are several steps that can help slow the overheating process. Nothing can eliminate the heat's effects completely, but here are a few things you can do to push that point down the road. The first is pre-cooling before a race. The goal is to slightly lower your core body temperature before you start running, which will extend the amount of time you can run hard before overheating. Research has shown that pre-cooling can significantly improve performance in hot and humid conditions by as much as 16%. So, how do you do it? You can purchase a specific pre-cooling vest that you would wear 10 to 20 minutes before the race or during your warm-up. That is certainly a simple option, but not everyone will have access to a fancy frozen vest. Other options are a quick ice bath, drinking a frozen slushie or popsicle, or using some frozen washcloths on your skin. Obviously, these choices are logistically more difficult to pull off in a big city race where you're staying in a hotel room. But even drinking some ice water or using cold compresses will help some. Of course, don't do anything on race day that you have not practiced many times before, and don't do something extreme enough to give you frostbite or freezer burn. I hate that I even have to mention this, but we all know runners that take good advice to the extremes. What you wear on race day makes a difference. Coat yourself in sunscreen and be sure that you're dressed in light-colored clothing, sunglasses, and a hat or a visor. I personally prefer a visor as it lets heat from my head escape, but others might prefer the sun protection of a full hat. Once the gun goes off, racing smart in the heat is your best strategy. What does racing smart mean? Lower your expectations and slow down far more than you would in normal conditions. Given enough heat and enough time, you will slow down. Everyone slows down, no matter how heat adapted they are. Please accept this fact. It is far better to be in control as long as possible instead of racing as if the heat won't catch you. It will. But if you start conservatively, you'll have a lot better chance of it catching up to you after you cross the finish line instead of before. It's important to note that as runners, we are used to pushing ourselves harder than most other people. We train ourselves to push through hard times to discover what we're capable of. But overdoing it in the heat can be dangerous and downright deadly. So there are a few signs to watch out for. If you begin to feel chills and have goosebumps on your skin, stop running immediately, as this is a sign of heat exhaustion, which could lead to heat stroke. You can walk as long as no further symptoms develop, such as dizziness, confusion, nausea, headache, or vomiting. Hydrate with water or a sports drink, and try to get in the shade. Heat stroke is a medical emergency and is characterized with some similar symptoms. But instead of cool, clammy skin, you are red, hot, and dry, and your body temperature is very hot. You are likely to become dizzy and confused, and you might pass out. If you or another runner is experiencing these symptoms, forget about the race and get help immediately. Running hard in the heat is one of the toughest challenges for any runner. The most important thing you can do is respect the heat, prepare carefully for the conditions, and adjust your expectations of success. The good news is that once cooler temperatures return in the fall, your hard work in the heat should pay off with faster times with less effort. And now it's time for the Mental Strength Minute. Fortify your mind in 60 seconds or less. Today's topic is chase your PR for joy. Most runners race to get faster and improve their personal record or personal best. It's a fantastic feeling when all your hard work pays off in real numbers on the clock to prove to yourself that yes, you are getting fitter and faster. But what about chasing PRs for joy? Not every race is going to be faster than the last if you run long enough, but that doesn't mean they can't be fulfilling and rewarding if you use a completely different metric like joy. How much fun can you have in a race? Maybe you choose a race with beautiful scenery instead of fast and flat. Maybe you decide you're going to high five every little kid waving a sign cheering you on. Find something you can do to cultivate joy in your racing, and next time, see if you can find even more.
Thank you for listening to The Planted Runner, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Don't forget that you can enter to win a free custom training plan for your next race and get featured on the show. Just write an Apple Podcast review and enter at theplantedrunner.com/PRLab. Of course, reviews are the number one way to boost this show's reach, and it's a great way to tell me what you'd like to hear next because I read every single one. Have a great run today.